Alright, welcome back to the channel. This is actually going to be a little bit of a video I wasn't expecting to do, but for the fact that the Saints had training camp dual workouts with the Jacksonville Jaguars. First preseason game of the season, that's this coming Saturday, and try to get a little bit more information on what we can learn from each other. What we kind of knew ahead of time is in training camp practices, a lot of the interior defensive line, a lot of the depth on it that had been signed, and some of the youth movement of that interior D-line has been getting hurt, as well as a couple of running backs that they've been trying to get off the shelf the last few years. Kendre Miller injured again, and then 6th round rookie last year, Devin Neal, he's also under shelf. So you're starting to kind of go and see who's going to be the first guy onto the field after you get Achane and you get Kamara, and how that process would be going with Kamara now being the official backup. But yeah, defensively, we already kind of knew David Godchaux has been hurt. You have Kristen Miller, the Georgia rookie, being hurt. Brian Brzee got hurt on the first day of practice of training camp. He's out for the year with a torn ACL. Going into these practices, those were a couple things I was going to try to look for, and to see any of the other rookies, to see if anyone else ended up standing out. Unfortunately, we will start with the rookies, and the one that is the most apparent to what is going to be considered the Saints' success this season, and this is Jordan Tyson. Unfortunately, one of the issues that he had been having throughout his college career is nagging injury issues, including last year having a consistent hamstring issue that took him out a good portion of the season last year. He ended up getting a nice catch over the middle of the field towards the sidelines, and ends up being slow to get up. He was able to slowly end up jogging off the field, and it just took a little bit extra time. But once that ended up happening in the team practices, Tyson wasn't seen for the rest of the game, for the rest of practice. And so you wanted to see, at least in that case, you're having your three wide receivers at the time being Olave, being Tyson, and being Vele. Who is going to be the one that's going to end up replacing those whenever Tyson being hurt? For the most part, especially in this first game, you know that the starters aren't going to be playing. In that case, who's going to be playing with Spencer Rattler? Who's the receiver that's going in on it? In that same case, running back, you're not going to expect Achane, you're not going to expect Kamara. The first one out of the backfield after that ended up being Audric Estime, who had a few nice plays off of it. Looked nice against any sort of pass rush, even though there was a bit of pressure coming into Shuck and for Rattler himself. So that is a bit concerning, but this was the first time against someone who is not with the team. So Jacksonville's D-line is very impressive, and they're able to get a few times getting a good rush against Shuck. But in this case, to end up replacing Tyson's production in practices, a lot of times they would end up bringing Bryce Lance in, who showed signs here or there, even though he also had a couple drops. They would also bring Kevin Austin in, and Barian Brown had one of the biggest highlights of the day, having a deep drop. They ended up 5 feet up in the air to bring the ball down, and they ended up going for a near touchdown. Unfortunately, wherever you went to training camp, we did get the injury to Jordan Tyson, who had looked really good throughout camp so far, really didn't have any drops over most of the training camp in general, and he was looking pretty well in practice, being able to get strong cuts, being able to run through defenses, get out in open space. Unfortunately, he ended up coming down slowly on a crossing pattern. Fortunately, it was able to end up basically jogging off the field, but we didn't see him for the rest of the practice. You had with the second unit, Spencer Rattler had a deep pass to Trey Palmer, ended up going into the end zone, a deep post. Saints aren't going to be playing much of, if any, of their starters. You didn't know if they were going to play Jordan Tyson anyway because of this little nagging injury that ended up coming up. He's definitely not going to end up playing, but you will get to see what's going to be Spencer Rattler passing to Oscar Delp, tight end, who ended up having a couple drops, which wasn't great. Bryce Lance also having a couple drops, but also having a few nice catches up at the middle, be able to extend. Barian Brown looking very impressive throughout all this training camp. Makes you really believe that even if he wasn't just the primary kick returner, primary punt returner, he was still going to make the team as a late 7th round pick, and to where all 3 of the wide receivers that are drafted are going to likely make the team. Honestly, probably if the injury ends up being a bug. Off of that, that's mostly of what I end up getting up to with the training camp in general. Tyler Shuck had a very nice day off of it. He had a couple drops he had to deal with, as I said with Delp, as I said with Bryce Lance, as they end up shuffling receivers back and forth. Whenever Tyson went down, you got Bryce Lance in, and whenever Bryce Lance wasn't in, you had Kevin Austin, Barian Brown in. Now, being able to see Chris Olave after his extension come up, he is so good. Like, he has such elusiveness after the catch and a strong ability to get open, strong ability to pinpoint the ball up in coverage on what is likely to be a 50-50 ball that's coming up in the air, downfield, and in the short to intermediate routes. He is a great all-around receiver even if many people do believe that his contract does seem a little bit rich for what he actually has been for value and what he could potentially be in the long term for the Saints. You definitely had where Shuck looked good. You had Rattler had good appearances, including that long ball to Trey Palmer. You had Zach Wilson come in, getting a few snaps here or there whenever they're doing a bit of their 2-minute drills, whenever you're getting a few reps in against the second and third team defense for the Jaguars. But for the most part, outside the Tyson injury, mostly a very effective training camp day to go through, and a nice little last lead up before you get into that first preseason game. But with that being said, thank you all for watching. We'll see if there's any content whenever I go to the Saints Jaguars game on it. More content's likely to be coming at least for college content. Tulane to be coming soon. More of the American, more of the Sun Belt, and more of the Mountain West. But that'll be it for this one. I'll see you in the next video.